Yeah, I'm ballin' in this bitch. Yeah. Money stay callin' in this bitch. We ain't worry about nothing, we celebrating.
What's up, Pulsenation?
You don't know?
Joined as always, episode number 28, if I'm not mistaken now, because we had 2 episodes yesterday catching up, and we are joined with the lovely Rags to Riches, and of course, my co-host, Westcott. How are y'all doing?
Oh, I'm great. I'm balling in this bitch. It's great.
I am. Yeah, exactly. I'm balling in this bitch. Yeah, dude. So for those of y'all who do not know, Rags to Riches has been in the ecosystem for quite some time. I would be shocked if you're watching our stream and never have watched any of his streams. But let's just talk a little bit about you and the background of Rags to Riches. You've gone through the story so many different times, but I do love the Rags to Riches tale. So please give the folks a background as to who you are.
Dude, I'm just a dude, man, from Virginia. That's it. I'm just a dude from Virginia. You know, I'm a kid. Growing up. We don't have money. You know, we're the welfare kids. My mom's living in the projects. I specifically remember 2 things about the project. Well, 3 things. The only toy I had was a basketball. Okay. The second thing was I remember the neighborhood kids hopping up on the hood of my mom's car and taking a dump on the hood. Wow. And then I remember rent being $50 a month for a duplex.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So those 3 things. So, you know, you kind of find your way. I realized when I got in high school, just being dumb. Fortunately, I had some type of wisdom to say, you know what, I got to get the hell out of here and I got to get somebody else to pay for it because my parents weren't paying for school or anything like that. And I barely graduated high school.
Right.
So I signed up for the service, took the ASVAB. They're like, you can be what you want. You can be all that you can be in the Army. And I said, I want to be a weatherman. And like the mic dropped and the music stopped. They're like, what? Yeah, I want to be a weatherman. So I became a weatherman. I got in the military. Saw all my friends partying, and I was super jealous because I'm busting my ass, going all over the world, just doing crazy stuff. And I got out of the military, decided to try to go back to school, and then tried to make up for lost time and try to party it up. And I wasted a lot of my 20s for that reason. Finally found a sales job, kind of got serious, and then realized I could talk to folks and just learned a lot about business. Started reading the Rich Dad, Poor Dad stuff. Heard about crypto from one of my buddies. He was a poker player, real good poker player, and he's the type of guy
Rags, it's always the poker player.
It's weird, dude. Dude, it is. And he's the type of guy that wouldn't get into something unless one of his friends got in it with him. All right, it's like the girls going to the bathroom. There's got to be a pair of 2 in the wild.
Oh, shit.
So he was like, Rags, you know, let's get into this. And I was seeing my friend on Facebook talking about Bitcoin. So we got in and we wrote it up. And you know, I set up my first Coinbase account in 2013, and Bitcoin was the only asset offered. And then they added Ethereum, and then they added Litecoin. Now there's like, who knows, like what, 100 or something.
Too many.
So I wrote it up, lost the money. I got involved in Bitcoin mining. I put some pictures out there of my little mining setup, and I wish I hadn't. We should have taken that money, invest instead. And
it says everyone ever.
Dude, it's so true, man. Unless you've got like 100 or 200 or 1,000 machines, it's just not worth it. And so I learned my lessons. I did really well. I had some accounts that I forgot about, opened them back up, just did dumb stuff, leverage and all that, and finally got smart and started trying to find a better way to do it. And 2018, 2019, 2020, I picked up some just dirt cheap bags. I mean, Cardano at like a couple cents, and Matic when it first launched, Luna when it first launched. Wow. And I had a bag of Doge that I bought 5 years ago, and that was incredible. And just and then I started teaching folks. My friends invited me to my own Telegram channel, and they say, now you need to teach us what you're doing. And I said, well, I'm just buying and holding, really. And started making YouTube videos about it. Created a community before I got into Hex. So I had a community of like 200 or 300 people. And it wasn't, I never charged anybody for anything. It was just us hanging out, talking about crypto, talking about real estate. And then, you know, I saw Richard Hart on Twitter. I thought he's a fool. But you know, I had a little bit more skepticism than that. So I actually started looking to see what Hex did.
Yep.
And once I learned what Hex did, I bought a little Hex, didn't tell my group because I didn't want people getting wrecked, and I was going to take it myself. And then did a little bit more research, and finally pretty much onboarded my group and said, hey guys, this is the real deal, and here's why. And it was the craziest thing because I didn't know a Hexagon. All I saw was Richard Hart. I hadn't seen anybody else. I made like my first video talking about Hex and showing one of the stakes that I had made, you know, just one of the public stakes. And YouTube did its job, dude. They brought Hexagons to my stream like freaking crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is happening here?
Right.
Well, when you go back and you realize like Hexagons were just looking for allies back then because they were getting beat up left and right. And for somebody to do the research and then actually like be honest about it on YouTube, I think that meant a lot to the community. And the YouTube algorithm brought everybody to me. So I go from a community of 200 to 300, and then people started following me, and I just started making more content on this, and it was just one cool thing after another. And I really just haven't stopped since, man. This is just a godsend to crypto, to be quite honest.
Let me ask you, what was it that sold you on Hex more so? Was it more so Richard or more so the code? Like, what was it to you that
So I quickly realized that the only thing that you had to be comfortable with Hex was the fact that there was an OA that owned a massive amount of supply. I said everything else is legit, but you're either going to invest or not. So that was fast. So then what did that mean? That mean I assumed, I don't know for sure, but you assume that Richard controls that supply.
Right.
So my biggest thing was trusting the man. And I hadn't seen a specific example that made me trust him until the Alex Saunders videos, where this guy gets on with Richard and basically tries to call him a scammer for, 2 hours.
Yeah, he does.
Gets off the stream, and then Richard said something to the effect like, oh, okay, yeah, you know what? Let's just do this. And then he screenshots DMs from Alex going back a year and a half, and we find out that Alex is trying to shake people out for Bitcoin. Richard posts this, and he says, hey, here's the DMs. He's been trying to, and Alex was using manipulation tactics. Yep. He was good cop one day, bad cop another day, trying to get Richard to give him stuff. Trying to get Richard to feel bad for him, like all sorts of little psychological tactics. Richard's like, no.
Broken if I don't.
Correct. And Richard's like, well, you should probably move out of the country. And then, but what happened was, when Richard did that, what happened was all of crypto started piping up. BitBoy Crypto was like, oh, dude, he stole 3 Bitcoin from me 2 years ago. And another guy from the other side of the internet's like, oh, he stole 2 Bitcoin from me. So he was robbing Peter to pay Paul the entire time.
Yeah.
And at that point, I said, okay, this guy's legit. I trust him now. Nothing was photoshopped. All this came out, and he ended the dude's career on Twitter live.
God.
Absolute. And then it comes out. I'm watching the news articles. I set up Google alerts for this guy. New Zealand's after him. Australia's after him. Yeah. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars extorted, like drug money going, this and that. It was absolutely insane. So at that point, I was okay with Hex code. I had to be okay with that supply. And then I had to trust the man. It was those 3 things. So the final part of that triangle was trusting Richard, and I trusted him at that point because everything he said was true.
Yeah.
And it was corroborated by a lot of different people out there. So that's, to answer your question, Westcott, that's what did it for me, man.
So the code, the supply, and trusting Richard.
Yep.
Or the OA, and then trusting Richard. I got you.
Yeah, that's what it was, man. Really, Richard. That's the primary.
Yeah, you do have to get over that first hurdle. I feel like not even a hurdle, because what's funny is most projects you don't even see as open and transparent as you hear about with Hex. And Hex is an open book, if you will, but a lot of the times y'all are investing in a whole bunch of cryptos that you have no idea who controls the supply of. And it's actually kind of funny because then you hear about a statement about the OA controlling X amount of supply. And it sounds ridiculous and wild. And you're like, no way. But like all these other tokens you haven't even heard of because that was just not a point brought up ever. And so it is kind of interesting that seems to be one of those things people are paying attention to, only because it's something that we do discuss, or it does get discussed.
Yeah, dude, it's that's such a good point that you bring up. Like back then, admittedly, there's so much I didn't know about crypto,
Right.
and Richard taught me this stuff, and then he could teach me, and then I would go and verify it.
Yep.
And one of the things that you don't realize is like people are really upset with Richard because he doesn't have a website with a pie chart that shows, allocations. Okay.
Correct.
Nor should he. But
Right.
nobody gets upset at the VCs. Nobody gets upset at the layer ones, all the projects out there that have a website with the pie chart that it's split up 9 different ways, and push comes to shove, only 15% of the supply goes to the actual users. But there's a team allocation, and there's a marketing allocation, and there's a ongoing development allocation. So I think that the real frustration here is that it doesn't fit the model of the VC backed crypto club. That's just what this is.
Yep.
So yeah, that and that's really difficult for somebody who's brand new to crypto to be able to punch through, because all they've ever known is how crypto does business in this way. And then they look at this other thing and they're like, that's got to be a scam, right? But it's actually crypto done the right way, and they just don't realize it. So I think our power is understanding that part.
Yeah, and just the stand on truth, right? At the end of the day, you stand on truth. It's just all facts. It's all numbers, and it is something. If you do decide to invest in Hex, it is a pill you have to swallow one way or another, because it is there and it's known, and it's something that does get talked about commonly and will be in your face more so than not. And so it is something that you will have to face and see if you can overcome that, if you will, hurdle yourself. Just because, I mean, it's an interesting little concept.
Man, look, I read an article today on my stream. You know how much token XRP is dumped through this entire bear market to pay for legal costs, the CEO salaries, etc. It's about 14.1 billion XRP tokens.
Oh, shit. God.
14.1 billion XRP tokens. Okay.
Wow.
And nobody's up in arms about that. And those guys are going to hold until they die.
Right.
So there's just such an importance to give the truth to people out there. Now, whether or not they can handle it, most can't, but some do.
You can't handle the truth.
Correct. They can't, man. It's difficult. It's hard for people to make that cognitive switch, in my estimation. Yeah.
Let me ask you, man, has this bear market, how long it's been and freaking just detrimental, has it deterred you in any way as far as like your expectations or hopes for like what's to come? Like, have you given up on the multiple hundreds of X's? Are you kind of one of these guys who's saying like 20X at best type of thing? Or like, what do you think as far as it goes moving forward?
Yeah. Guys, I just want to say that I have never doubted for 1 second. Not one. No, that's a lie. That's a lie, bro. Guys.
Oh, man.
Let me tell you something.
It's been a long bear market, but go ahead, let's go.
This has been brutal, guys.
Oh, yeah.
I am no different than anybody here. That's it. I mean, the only difference is I've probably been streaming longer, and the more you stream, the more followers you get. That's the only difference here.
Right.
Gotcha.
So to tell you, man, this has been absolutely brutal. This has been devastating. And I think that expectations never were set correctly or haven't been set correctly by a lot of folks.
Right.
So if you're in the chat right now or you're listening and you're thinking, man, I've got so much faith in all these influencers that are just fighting the good fight. Guys, the thing that I do have is experience. And I do understand the macro perspective, and I understand what happens when the money printers turn back on.
Right.
What I also understand is looking at, like, this was a crazy stat. The past 7 years, you go back 7 years, there's $1 billion that's been invested in DeFi. And you go back 6 years, from year 7 to year 6, there's like 2 or 3 billion. from year 6 to year 5, there's like 5 billion, and it comes
Right.
all the way up to last year. So it jumps from about $10 billion total in the past 7 years, and then on year 8, it goes from 10 billion to almost 20 billion. That's a lot of money. That's a 100% increase based on the last 6 or 7 years.
Right.
So I see the facts. I see the writing on the wall. I see PayPal getting into stable coins. They've got a custodial wallet now. I see Coinbase fighting the SEC. I see that expansion. I see nation states buying Bitcoin, whether or not it's good or bad. It just is what it is. I see BlackRock shilling Bitcoin, probably to get themselves out of a tough spot. They're going to dump on everybody's heads next bull market. But guys, it's here. It's mainstream. The whole narrative that it's not is BS. And the only thing that it's going to take to pump this is for those money printers to turn back on, for the interest rates to decrease. And if you can position yourself, and if you've got the mental fortitude, emotional fortitude to chill the hell out, go to your day job, work your ass off, forget about all this crap on Twitter, you can win. I really do believe that from the bottom of my heart. Anybody can win right now.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So when will they turn these damn printers on, man? I know you don't know, but do you have any idea? Like, because I know you do the FOMC, CMA. I don't know what it's called, the meeting. You do a lot of those.
CPI,
FOMCA, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on with that, bro?
Well, and to follow up and to add on to that little topic as well, since we're in that subject of turning on money printers, what do you feel like with the BlackRock filing ETF and all that good stuff do you think they would rather dump assets that they've had longer, who they've made money on? Or do you think they would dump something like Bitcoin, a newer asset where they may end up paying something like capital gains tax or whatever the case may be on the money printer side? I just want to kind of hear both on that. Would it be beneficial to dump older or newer?
Here's my theory. And I to be quite honest, I'm not sure if you could even Google this right now. You might be able to. I'm not sure if you could. Okay. My theory is that BlackRock has massive amounts of assets that are underwater or about to go underwater, specifically in the commercial real estate realm. You got to remember, BlackRock owns 10% about just every damn company in the world. Okay.
Right.
And a lot of those companies, they've got commercial real estate holdings. And if you've paid attention to stuff, if you've heard about this, commercial real estate after COVID is just going by the wayside.
Right.
Okay. Humans adapted. They learned how to do their job at home. These commercial spaces where people have to go to work, that's kind of fading away.
Right.
I think the BlackRock is buying up Bitcoin and shilling Bitcoin to try to offset the losses that's going to happen when the commercial real estate bubble pops. So I think that's why you have the world's most powerful financial man in history, which is Larry Fink. I think that's why you have him openly shilling Bitcoin, because they've got now. And think about this too. Just like take this for example. Damn. Not only does BlackRock have Bitcoin, think about all the companies. So MicroStrategy, okay, Mr. Seiler, they own. BlackRock owns 10% or 12% of MicroStrategy, and MicroStrategy owns 160,000 Bitcoin. So it's like they own Bitcoin by proxy. They've already cornered this market, and it probably only took them like since 2018 to do this. So they're taking over the cryptocurrency. They're doing this. So the question that you asked is, they're going to like dump old stuff, or I do not believe at all that these people see Bitcoin as the future. I don't think they take it seriously. I think that this will be the ultimate pump and dump next cycle.
Oh God,
that's what I think.
I love that thought right there. Yeah. That is so interesting, because as you look at it, and I mean, BlackRock does own a bunch of companies, right? Yes. They have their hand dipped everywhere in every single sector, and a lot of those sectors are also entering themselves into the cryptocurrency sector as well. I mean, heck, they, like you said, 10% of MicroStrategy, 5% of Tesla, and like all these other different things. And I know many more companies that are out there who are doing it. So it is very interesting that you see that. What we've been everyone has had a moment like this happen where they've been burned, where they thought they did the right play by doing that pump and dump scenario where they get out and then it goes on to rally and, experience something bigger than that they could have ever anticipated or even thought of. So, do you think they come in with regret, and do they come in harder the next cycle if it should so continue? Because I like looking forward into the future, looking into the next couple months, 6 months, a year is cool. Looking into like 5 years, 10 years, that's just a fun thought process in my head. And
Yeah.
so if I see it as a big pump cycle this time and a dump cycle, which I'm on the same page with you, I actually agree. Not only because of them dumping, but also just because that is a buy the rumor, sell the news type deal. And the ETF getting approved is a freaking sell the news event. You know what I mean? That's when it happens. So do you think that comes back around? They've able to pay off so many debts, they've offset so many things, and then it is still fun to exist, right? So what do we see like 2028 rolling around, just for
Yeah.
fun, like 2029?
So here's what I do know. You have somebody like BlackRock, and then you have a bunch of crypto bros on Twitter, including
Right.
myself. And I say, BlackRock doesn't know better than me. They're just idiots, and this is the way, and blah, 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 blah. I got to paint a very realistic scenario and situation for the people
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah, I'm smarter than BlackRock for sure.
Right. What's the difference here? The difference is I might live to be 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years old, and then I
Right.
die.
Right.
And then maybe some of my knowledge gets passed down to my children. So what happens with BlackRock, a company? You have thousands of the smartest people, or hundreds of thousands of the smartest people in the world. And when they die, that knowledge doesn't leave with them because they have systems and processes in place to take that knowledge and apply it to situations in the future. So we're at a disadvantage every single generation compared to these people who literally exist to extract value. They say to build value. It's extracting value from the middle class, and it always has been. So the question is like, what are they going to do next cycle? Are they going to pump this, or they're going to do the exact same thing because we're all fools? In 2028, what is that, 5 years from now?
Yep.
All these kids who are 15 and 16 now, they're going to be in college in 20s and 22, and they're going to go buy Bitcoin miners, and they're going to invest in crypto, and they're going to have crypto on their PayPal app and their Cash App already, and they're investing, they're telling their friends, and BlackRock's pumping ads through all the mainstream media and AP and Al Jazeera and MSNBC, CNN, and right now is the best time to buy. And guys, they're just going to do it over and over and over again because people are subjectively and relativistically dumb.
Yes.
And they can't compete. They can't compete. They don't know.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but that's why we're here too, folks. We are here to say there's a different way. There's a way to change this, and we have to wake people up. So
I'm so happy I'm here. I'm so happy I'm here because I know so many people that still will refuse to adopt crypto, and especially now with the prices where they are, you know what I'm saying? But like everyone says, when it's high, when it's at the top, that's when people want to get in, and they consistently continue to lose. You know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know what it's going to take to onboard everyone or get everyone to wake up and take this thing seriously, but maybe they never do, but
you can't expect. So we've got some pipe dreams in this community, and the pipe dream is we're going to onboard everybody in a cycle. When really the only thing that we need to be doing, in my opinion, is drilling down to find what the truth is, and then hitting people with the truth. Okay, so marketing, they might put like back in the day, the cigarettes, Marlboro Man, whatever. Okay, and you never smoked before, and you're a kid, and you go downtown and you see a Marlboro sign. Okay, that's one. And then you get a phone call, some person trying to sell you some advertisement space in a Marlboro magazine. Okay, that's 2 touches, 3 touches. You got to have multiple touches to get that person to take the next step, which is to go buy that brand.
Yep.
That's what we're doing here. If we're needy and we go out there and we try to grab people by the throat or grab them by the shoulders and shake them to death and say, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're not buying this thing, you're going to go to hell. It's like a fire and brimstone preacher. That's not going to work.
Right.
The thing that's going to work is for people to stand back and say, wait, what are those guys doing over there?
Yes.
And why do they look so confident? And why do they seem to have such a good understanding? And how come they're not actually begging me to come do their thing? Like, and that person makes a really good point. And so does that person. He makes a good point. She makes a good point.
Right.
Maybe I should let me kind of get in one of these streams and not say anything and just listen. And then that one listen turns into 2 listens a week. And then that 2 listens turns into following them on Twitter. And then that following on Twitter turns into talking to Richard Hart about this. And then that, so I think
they made the post. Yep.
Let's just go build our own world.
Yeah.
Let's not worry about what everybody else is doing, because we're all doing things different, and it will attract like moths to the flame. That's really how I feel about it.
So kind of like, it's almost like if you lose something, if you're looking for it, you can't find it. But if you don't look for it, all of a sudden it pops up. So kind of just go do your own thing, and the people will come anyway. Because
and think about this too. Let's say, Westcott, man, you a player. So here's the deal, man. Hey, you're not going to go up to a woman and you're not going to beg her to go on a date with you.
Right.
You're gonna play the game.
Yeah.
Why? Because when you go and beg, you lose that power. You lose that masculine energy, and you lose that respect. And I really think that's human psychology in anything. Like if I go and try to beg somebody, screw that. But what am I doing? I'm showing up every day. I'm putting my best foot forward, putting out good content that I think is honest and I'm well researched.
Yes.
And I don't go out there and beg people. Do not like, comment, and subscribe. There's a reason for that, folks.
Genius.
And it's because I don't want people there who don't want to be there.
Right. Yeah, you've said that. You've said that so many times, and you've made it a point at the beginning of several streams, even in the past. It's like, guys, you're not going to like the information that's put out there, and then whatever said, it's pretty cool because then you can actually see who's going to stick around to just hear what's being said. I love that. Love that concept. Love that idea. I've always thought of it as a reverse psychology play, which is also the same. It can have 2 effects at the same time.
It does.
And so the reverse psychology play I've always loved, because I remember hearing your streams back in like 2020, and it was do not like, do not comment, do not share, do not subscribe. And I'm like, fuck, I clicked like. What are you going to do about it?
Yo, don't want to be told what to do.
Bro, what's funny is that question even just came up a second ago, even just right now while we're talking about it. And they said, is it okay to like and sub over here? and so I hear that. And of course, I said subscribe is always welcome, right? Because it's just fun. Because I like saying that that little concept of that discussion that we just had. Love it.
Yeah, dude, it's good. I like it. You're right. It serves 2 purposes. It's a reverse psychology thing, but at the same time, I don't want to be arguing with people. Like I'm gonna put out my content. If you don't like it, then I'm not gonna beg you to stay here. So just leave. And what happens over time, it's a slower growth process, but I'm not gonna get stuck like 5 years from now, being somebody that I'm not. And everybody, when I decide to finally be honest with everybody and everybody hates my opinion, then I lose subs. I'm like, well, that was a worthless exercise. Let's just be who you are from the start,
Refresh my memory on something real fast. So in 2021, you did a phenomenal charity event raise, actually, not even a charity event raise, where you actually went and gave out the Christmas presents and the gifts and everything like that, the money, the neighborhood, the whole everything that you did was an absolutely heart-touching moment for sure, man. That was incredible. Remind me what you did in 2022 and what you may be looking to do in 2023, if we can get a little peek into the future.
Yeah, so I'm real big on helping the community. And here's the thing: I think a lot of people want to help folks, they just don't know how to direct their energies to help them. So if you can become a conduit for other people to go through you, so you can help folks, they'll do that all day because they don't have time. There's truckers and there's plumbers and there's just attorneys and accountants, and they got their day jobs. They don't have time for that. Right. So back then, I identified a guy, single dad. He was from Brooklyn, and he was struggling, and we scrapped together some money for Christmas, put it together, and then it was important for me, for the community, to literally see every dollar that I raised. Yeah, I wanted people to see that put on the table, so that way, because there's so many scammers out there. So that was I made the video as proof that money went to a really, really good place, all of it directly to him. So that was important.
For sure.
Now, what I'm doing now, I was part of a boxing club for the better part of, I mean, I've been boxing for probably about 13 or 14 years. I haven't boxed for about 3 years now because I have kids and stuff. So there's a boxing club that was really, really, kind of hurting for money. So we were able to raise some funds for that. One of the kids is actually going to the Olympic trials in Colorado Springs this month. And we've been documenting his journey. So what'll be cool if he gets the Olympics or something, we've got footage. We're gonna throw together another video and say, guys, this small amount of money was able to send him, buy the plane ticket, get him food and a hotel room, and we got the gym new heavy bags, and we got the hand wraps, and we got everything for these kids. A small amount of money makes a really big difference. So I want to emphasize to people that it's not me. When I say me, I'm not like saying myself. I'm just saying, generally speaking, Crypto Heartbeat says, give away what you want to receive. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to receive that love back, then you got to give it away. You got to put it out there. If you want the world to do good things, then you need to put that out there, and it'll come back to you. So to answer your question, you'll see some sort of video here moving forward in 2022 or 2023, 2024 about that gentleman's about his story, man.
Gotcha.
I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And I'm looking forward to it as a matter of fact, because I appreciate just everything you've always done for not only the community, but just people in general, man. You got a real big freaking heart, man. So shout out to you, Rags, on that one. And yeah, go ahead, Wes. Go ahead.
You taught me everything I know. Like when I stumbled across you as a streamer, I was sold, bro, because a lot of the stuff just went over my head. And then I'd watch your videos and you'd break it down. Like you break it down so well that I want to ask you, like, where do you get that teaching ability from? Like, is someone in your family a teacher? Was it natural, or do you just develop it on your own? Like, where do you get that from?
Dude, so I've actually identified it. It's something I was born with. I can't take credit for it. So God gave it to me. But it's just, I thought about it. I'm like, why do people say this? Why do people say that I can teach well? Yeah. And whenever I'm reading something, there's a voice inside my head that literally tells me, hey, people are not going to understand the sentence. Take a step back and break it down for them.
It's a gift.
Yep.
It's like a sixth sense. Like I'll be like, okay, I need to provide context, even to the point where sometimes when I'm streaming with other people, they'll say this long paragraph, and then I feel it important to go in and be like, okay, nobody understand a freaking word that dude said. Let's break it down for people real quick. So I'm blessed with
doing
like,
the FOMCs.
Yeah, FOMC stuff, and it's not like I always knew this. I've had to. You guys have seen me research stuff live, and it's just it's building blocks a little bit at a time. I'm certainly. I probably couldn't. I probably couldn't win in an argument with Lamont Black about the traditional finance system. But I think that I could raise some interesting questions to learn more from the man, for example.
I got my money on Rags any day of the week. You are good, bro. And I kind of want to change the subject a little bit, man. I watch a lot of your port streams, and bro, there was this one, might have been 6 months ago, and it was so funny to me because I'm at work, I'm driving a truck, and I'm listening to this, and you're talking about nursery rhymes and how dark they are. And one of the ones was, a sailor went to sea to see what he could see, and all that he could see was the bottom of the deep blue sea. And I'm like, mind blown. This dude drowned.
Dude.
Why are we singing this to kids?
They're all sick. They're all disgusting.
They're all sick. Like,
just go Google nursery rhymes, and I don't know how we got on that. I think.
Bro, can you name another one? Because I can't think.
What was the
like 7?
Yeah, what was the gosh, I was thinking about this.
Aesop's Fables.
They fell down the hill and busted her head, and all the curves went away. And all that. Jack and Jill went up the hill.
Yeah.
And then what's the cradle? What's the cradle one? The most popular one.
The baby in a tree, or no, that's
essentially
Yeah,
the baby's in a
same, dude.
cradle. They put him in a tree and fell out, and the baby died.
Right. Yeah, that literally is the words.
Yeah, and
Oh.
everybody's seeing it to their child like it's heaven, and I'm like, dude, I think Satan is in this room with us right now,
Oh.
dude. That's
Along
wild.
came a spider that sat down
and
beside her and frightened her away. Why
dude,
are we
it's sick.
scaring?
It's disgusting, dude. It's
Yo,
disgusting.
that just always sat with me, and I was like, this is crazy. It was a
Rock
revelation.
goodbye, baby, in a treetop. When the
There
wind
you
blows,
go.
the cradle will rock. When the bow breaks, the cradle will fall, and down
Damn,
goes
will
baby,
come-
cradle and all.
Dead.
Wrecked.
Yeah, right.
Nah, dude, that was. I always wanted to talk to you about that because I was just like amazed by that. That was an amazing.
I love moments like this because I say so much crazy stuff on those porch streams, and for you to bring that back up, dude, that cracks me. I haven't thought about it since then.
That was. I'm gonna find that clip and post it on Twitter for
Dude.
everyone. It was fascinating.
Yeah,
Dude,
it's definitely fascinating, man, for sure. Yeah, the horror stories for the babies.
Yeah, dude.
Yo,
Oh, yeah, dude,
go
exactly.
through all of them. You
I
know what I'm
know.
saying? This.
Yeah,
from
Humpty
the-
Dumpty fell on the wall, you know what I mean? Like, or Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
All the king's horses
Had a
and all the
great
king's
fall.
men couldn't put Humpty together again. Like what?
Wrecked. Dead.
Wrecked.
Every single kid story, death at the end. Of it.
It's
What
so
is going
bad,
on?
dude. I don't know.
Getting wrecked, everyone.
But
Oh.
speaking of Twitter, man. Speaking of
Yeah.
Twitter and also your porch streams, I remember recently, maybe a week ago, you had a stream where you were kind of like, "Oh, somebody said such and such," and I wanted to respond to them, and I typed the message out, and then I said, "You know what? No, I'm just gonna delete it." I just want to ask you, like, how do you keep your cool in situations like that? You know what I mean? Like, you have a woosah moment or something, or
I'll tell you. So everything's about pain and pleasure, and I've been that person. I was that person on Facebook going way back when Facebook got popular. And Facebook got popular pretty much when I was going into the military and then getting out and all that. And I would just get in knockdown, drag out arguments with people. And then later on, I'd be like, oh shit, that was public. Everybody can see that. And I showed my ass, and I don't feel good about that. I don't feel good about that at all. And I'm kind of losing friends, this and that. I think it's important to be very honest.
right?
And very genuine with your opinions. But at the same time, I think there's a time and a place for that sort of stuff. And if
Yeah.
you don't have to get into things that don't matter, then in my opinion, I don't like to interject my opinion on things that I don't think really matter that much. So
Right.
I've tried my hardest to give everybody a fair shot on Twitter, even if they disagree with me. I can be respectful, and I'll disagree back in a tactful, respectful way, in such a way that somebody doesn't feel like their ego is damaged, and that's important. But yeah, that was some bullshit.
Eric Wall.
Yeah.
Well, something, something that I hear, I've heard in the past said, you know, even just from elder folk and everything like that, it's just one of those, like, give people a second chance, but don't give them a third, right? And so it's one of those that, like, you know, it's the same fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, or, you know, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me type deal. It's that same kind of concept. I think after a certain point in time, there is a time, like he said, to push back and to fight. But yeah, I mean, it's not always the first time. Sometimes you just gotta let things go. Sometimes just people be having a day. You know, we all have them. I think we've all been there before. And then they come on Twitter, and it's just an easy place. Twitter is just where my head goes to. But I think at any point in time, for any exchange in any medium, for being phone call, text, social media, whatever, you're going to be saying some things that are going to be emotional, and it's very tough to take those things back sometimes. But sometimes you kind of let it slide at the same time and just like, all right, you know, I'll let you have this one. But I think that's the way I've always looked at it too. It's one of those, like, yeah, I'll let you get away with it once, but like, why I'm going to, you know, we ain't going to keep playing this game so many times.
Yeah. And two things to point out, like this rang true to me. Like, people typically, they hate up. They don't hate down typically. So if I got somebody that's hating up towards me, I don't really, it takes away my power and my energy to even respond to that type of stuff unless
That's
it's
true.
valid.
Right.
Very true.
And the other thing that I read maybe 5 or 10 years ago here was, and this is a summary, it was a Chinese parable, and it basically summarizes this way. It's better to be quiet and thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Okay.
Nice.
So that was important to me. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I'm not going to reinforce the fact that I don't know something by opening my mouth and arguing something that I have no clue about. So I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. And that's important too. So I don't like the way it feels. I get the dopamine hit when I'm, punching somebody in the nose or they're punching me back in the moment, but afterwards I don't want the regret. And that
Right.
damages your spirit. I don't like it.
Yeah, I think something that you even just mentioning, just typing stuff out, sometimes that can be a way of venting as well.
It does. Yeah.
And so, like, it doesn't even have to be sent. It doesn't have to be said. It can just be, whether it be said inside your own head or whatever the case may be, it doesn't have to actually get sent, which is why back in the day when you would write letters to people in the mail, I've made this reference for with Wes and everything on our streams, but you would write it down, right? You literally write down your thoughts, put it in a freaking drawer, wait until the next day and see if you would send it out at that point in time, because that'll let you know how you're feeling. If you're still feeling the same way, to send it the next day type deal.
Yeah, it's a maturity thing, man. You kind of you pick your battles better as you get a little bit older too, and you kind of mellow out and you understand what's important, what's not, and it sucks on Twitter because it is so public and there's so many anons out there, and back when you're younger, somebody talks trash to you, you punch, you knock their teeth down their throat, and that's what you want to do on Twitter.
Right.
But again, Twitter's a different game, man. The people who really know it, actually, they know when to shut up better than the next person, in my opinion.
Right. Absolutely.
Heck yeah. Well, they're trying to get the ring around the rosy.
Pocket full of posy, ashes, we all fall down.
Creepy.
Bubonic plague or something.
Yes, very creepy.
Everyone's dying.
I'm telling you, if you go through all of them, bro, that sailor went to sea. I had nightmares after that because bruh, all he saw was the bottom of the deep blue sea. That is the darkest thing I ever heard.
I love it. I love that you brought that up, man.
Yo, dude, that was amazing. And what was I gonna say? So, as far as the movie goes, did you see the movie?
Yeah, dude, I went to DC and saw it.
Nice, man. Without giving spoilers, man, what was your thoughts on it?
Okay, thoughts on the movie, man. So my first reaction, without thinking, just my gut emotion, snap judgment, when the movie was over, I sat back and I was like, damn, I don't feel good. I'll tell you straight up. A lot of people are gonna. Well, here's the thing, man. I think the movie accomplished what it was supposed to, which is it's supposed to either leave you super happy, super confused, or super sad. And in this case, it was super confused and like very uneasy because there's a lot of implications in that movie. The movie was very well done. I remember like coming out of myself in the middle of the movie and being like, wow, stuff doesn't really typically keep my attention for a long period of time. And I'm pretty sure for 45 minutes straight, I was locked in and didn't think about anything else, just on this movie.
Yep. Right.
So I said, well, okay, that's good. That's a really, really good thing. But things like, okay, I know the SEC is going to take some of these clips from this movie and they're going to use it against him. That's one of the things that I heard. And I know that the SEC is probably going to subpoena some of these folks in this movie. And I realized that. And if people get upset about that, I'm sorry. That's just it's the law. It's the way it goes. So so in that way, I was like, okay, that was frustrating. But I got to bring somebody who didn't know anything about Hex, didn't know anything about crypto that much, and I asked this person, what were your thoughts? And they were like, it worries me that you have this cryptocurrency, but I'm now going to go research this cryptocurrency, and I want to learn more, and I want to see how all this turns out. So I said, wow, this movie did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Getting people to research.
Dude, and that was coming from, I don't have the ability to put myself in a person's shoes that doesn't know anything about crypto. That's far gone. Yeah. But that person told me that specifically, and I said, okay, yeah, that's what it was meant to do. And that uneasy feeling, that's what it was meant to do for me. So I think it served its purpose, to be honest with you there.
Yeah, I did. I'll tell you, I felt some pain watching a couple of the scenes. You know what I mean? Because you just know where things are currently at right now, even as well, right? And so you just like they showed the amount of money this person may have lost on the purchase. Granted, I would imagine they've continued to buy, but I don't know, right? That's one of those who really knows. But they made a big purchase at a very high point in time for the ecosystem, and then you see where the prices are now, even with the doubling of Pulse Chain. You're like, damn, that just you feel the pain for them. You know what I mean? Because we look at our wallets all the time, and I think we all have an idea of what our portfolio holds. And so it's one of those like I've learned to disassociate the dollar figure from just like the actual amount of quantity of tokens that I want to aim for in anticipation of a price rate reaching a certain price in the future. But still watching them and just knowing that like, the pain's out there, man. And some people aren't going to be able to get through it and they are going to take a massive loss. And that hurt, like for the people who are selling even right now for Pulse X, they may never buy back again because they may have just been, twice bitten, once shy or whatever, once shy, twice bitten, whatever. And so that's where they're at. And so it's like I feel the pain and sadness there. But I don't know, man. The movie did a phenomenal job breaking it down. They remained straight up like free, non-biased. Shocking with how they could have gone in any direction either way. And so I felt like it was a very open view that says, yeah, here's your first touch, right? I think you broke that down earlier in this stream. Here's your first touch into a crypto ecosystem. Second touch could be a news article, SEC. Third touch could be the price is pumping in a bull market.
Yes.
Fourth touch is their friend saying, I got in, are you in? You know what I mean? And so I think that's where this leads. And so like me going down that path, yeah, that's what gets me like super excited because I actually had a non-crypto friend do the same thing as well. And they were almost happy with how they wanted to learn more. And you don't see that too often.
Dude, that's such a intellectual take on that, man. ATX, I appreciate that, and I completely I agree with that. I want to point this out too. Now we get to see these characters in real life, and if you've noticed that Lamont Black guy, his Twitter posts are looking like they're in favor of Hex.
Yeah,
they're not looking the other way. Now, here's what we got to understand too. We can't be naive. We know that this is a story and it was produced and they're kind of like leading the story the way that they want to go. And he's the antagonist.
Yep.
So, but it was very cool to see somebody who, guys, like I said, he was an economist for the Federal Reserve. He's a PhD in economics, PhD in finance. He is steeped in the culture and he is willing right now to open his mind, maybe, or maybe he just wants to be included in the sequel. So he doesn't want to piss Richard off. Who knows? But he's got the right first refusal there. But yeah, but it's.
I mean, Chris A is saying it right here. Lamont's heading towards being into Hex, I think, and that was like it's pretty interesting when you can start seeing some of that change take place. And I think it comes down to the fact that we do stand on truth. At the end of the day, right? It's nothing that's you're hearing about is just made up. It's just all like, here it is, and what you do with it is your decision and your choice. And I love that.
Now I want to ask you, as far as like you brought up Richard for a second. It seems as though he's not at the throne as of right now. And what are your thoughts on this ecosystem going forward if he say never comes back, like he just stops streaming and slowly goes off into the sunset? What are you still bullish on everything we got going on? You think he's necessary?
No, don't think he's necessary.
Okay.
Necessary is the word. Is he a force multiplier? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Like he's the one who, this is his baby. This is his thing. We want him around. We need him around. I will also say this though. There are people, the builders of this community, as much as a lot of people don't like them, the builders don't see any other place in crypto other than Pulse Chain as their home.
Right.
And that's a beautiful damn thing.
Nice.
And if Richard, guys, I'll say this, if Richard disappears and he, I wouldn't worry. I'm not telling you to go buy up a bunch of Pulse Chain. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I don't foresee Pulse Chain going away ever. Okay. Yeah. And that's coming from a place. I try not to bullshit you guys, and I think you guys that's coming from a place of knowledge. That's not coming from a place of massive speculation. So there are things in place. There are plans that are set forward. You have the Coast guys that just introduced the fiat on ramp, direct on ramp to Pulse chain, and there are people that are talking about bridges, and there's builders that are building all sorts of cool things to make this thing alive, because we are like no one else in cryptocurrency. Nobody does business the way we do, and this is our home, man. This is the culture, and it is embodied in the Pulse chain. And the culture comes first, the technology comes second. It just so happens that Pulse chain is what glues us all together. And you can't break that out. You can't break that down if people want it to stay. You can't beat somebody that doesn't want to be beat. Yeah, you can knock them down, but they're gonna keep. You can't beat what's inside their head.
Right.
You can't beat their feelings on this stuff. So, guys, I feel good. I feel good about this. I got nothing weird about it. Yeah, personally.
Exciting, man. I do want to get to our homie's question. He
give me 1 second. I'll be right back, y'all.
No problem. Disciple, he says, I hope Rags to Riches can speak on sovereignty and how financial freedom is important for it. Is there anything you could say to that? As far as
man. When you talk about freedom and sovereignty in today's world, culture out there, pop culture, this and that, they look at you, and a lot of times they're going to make fun of you. And they're going to say, oh, freedom and sovereignty, whatever, dude. What are you talking about? The government's not going to do anything to why are you even being that way? And in my case, they'll call me a white supremacist, or they call me a racist, or they call me a homophobe, or they call me a xenophobe.
Anything.
And I'm like, I don't like Westcott Crypto, but it's not because he's black. I promise. Okay. That's not the reason, right? Okay. But here's the thing. All the time you get it. Okay. So here's the he talked about Westcott being black.
Yo, it's so taboo, man. Yeah, dog. Crazy.
And then there's the Crypto Wonder podcast. That fool. Oh my Lanta, the Reverend.
Yo, he's a huge fan of you too, man. He's always talking about your streams.
I've been a huge fan of that guy for such a long time, man.
I've never seen you in his chats when I discovered him. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
Rav is here. Okay.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
For me, I'm like, okay, he's legit.
Yeah, I like the guy, man. But here's what's happening though. It was all crazy for the past 20 years when we were talking about this, and we were seeing the writing on the wall, and we were seeing the direction that the government was going. And then what happened? Thank God for COVID in this way. It forced those people to play their hands way too hard. And now we see everything out in the open. We see the legislation. We see what people want. Like, they think that they can do better with our money than we can do better with our money. And that's a telltale sign of really bad things to come in the future. They want to control every aspect of you. They want the CBDCs. They want cash to go away so they can track everything. They can turn your money on and off with just a switch. You may have due process. You may not have due process. So what does this represent to me? In terms of freedom and sovereignty, there's got to be two forces here. There's got to be, you take a look at the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. There was never anything that was more right and more just than being a patriot and standing up for your freedom and sovereignty against the tyrannical government.
Right.
And again, they're going to say, stop bringing up that stuff from the past. I'm like, guys, those people went through all of that to set us up for a government that could live in perpetuity forever and create balance for everybody.
Right.
I see Pulse Chain, I see PulseX, I see cryptocurrency at large, even though it's being hijacked right now.
Right.
This is our technological way to push back.
Right.
This is that opposing force right now. And if we didn't have this opposing force, how much more quickly could things decelerate to the downside? The biggest mistake that people make is thinking that these bad things aren't going to happen in my lifetime. Right. You go back throughout history, you go back in the 20th century, guys. Did you know that more people were killed, murdered in the 20th century than all of history combined in that 100 years? And that's because the people in Germany 5 years prior, they're living the life, and all of a sudden wrecked. Those people in Russia, they're living the life. 5 to 10 years later, wrecked. Those people in Cambodia living the life, 5 years, 10 years later, wrecked. Those people living in Vietnam, wrecked. There's so many examples of how quick this can devolve if you don't have somebody that's pushing back. So I think it's extremely important, especially when it comes to our money, because if they can control our money, it makes it really, really difficult. We got to find a way to push back. And I think we're just doing our patriotic duty in a very peaceful, nonviolent way. And we're just speaking up and speaking the truth and showing that there is another alternative out there.
Heck yeah.
Gotcha.
No, there definitely is. And well, I mean, just the fact that they're even pushing back as hard as they are is kind of that other way of like kind of showing that, you know, we got something that we're brewing basically. It's kind of how I see it. Because if they're pushing back as hard as they are, it kind of says like, what are you scared of? Otherwise, you wouldn't see them do anything against it. Because it's like, are you going to go kill a whole bunch of ants because you can? No, half the time you just let them live their life. You ain't just like smushing each one. We ain't kids anymore. But that's how it kind of feels with them kind of coming in. Now we're seeing like, you know, bigger things that we don't necessarily want. I don't want to get too crazy with it.
Right.
But yeah, that's one of those. Now they're trying to take us down or try to get some better control so that way it doesn't escape their control. Because yeah, at this point in time, control shifting, man. Like it's happening. It's been slow. It's been a steady process. It's been a steady progress. But I mean, you're talking what? Bitcoin's less than 14 years old.
Yeah.
Right. Like, what are we talking about?
So think about like I'm trying to find a good way to put this, but if our economic situation is extremely flimsy and you're the person that's in charge of this economic situation and you see something like cryptocurrency and you think to yourself, man, that cryptocurrency could really, really cause problems for us if money goes into that and not into our thing.
Right.
And if it's flimsy, they're going to think, well, we really need to get rid of that externality because that could cause a lot of problems for us. So the real problem is not cryptocurrency. The real problem is the system that they set up that is teetering on the edge of the abyss and on the looking down into the void right now. Gotcha. That's what we're dealing with. Now, I'm going to respectfully, you know, I know this is y'all's channel, this and that. I'm going to respectfully shout out the Texan token, and here's why. It's very applicable to what we have going on. We wanted to look across the landscape, and we wanted to find people who share the same sorts of values that we espouse and we talk about every single day on all these streams. And I don't think that there is any better organization to share that idea with and share the gift of cryptocurrency and Pulsechain than the folks down in Texas there, the TNM. Right. And the reason why it's so important for us is we want to hop on the horse that is already doing the hard work and explaining to people what's important out there, what's important for our kids and our families and our grandkids. And this is an organization that's been established for 20 or 25 years now that has been doing that the whole time. And everything that they're talking about, we line up so well. So it's really neat to also have these people introduced to Pulsechain. These people had no clue what cryptocurrency was before, other than what they heard on mainstream media about Bitcoin. Right. And now we've been able to onboard hundreds, if not thousands, of those people, and those will be the people that, again, they hold Pulsechain now, they hold Hex now, and these were people that weren't on Twitter. These were people that were nowhere. So I want to point out that sort of thing is very important to us, to bring people into the fold to understand what's at stake.
Yes,
and that's very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Real quick, man, I want to ask you: Are you jumping on the stream with Crypto Hart being Lamont Black?
No.
Cool.
That's his thing.
Okay,
yep.
Cool.
Nope, we're good.
Sure. I don't want to keep you too long, but
nope.
Before we go, man, I want to also ask you: does the SEC slow us down? Are we going to have to wait maybe another cycle or something, or what are you thinking?
Good question.
Yeah.
So two things. I've got a lawyer on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to break down the whole court document.
Yo, okay. You working, dog. You working. Because you did a stream before this, then did us, and now you got, wow. I love it.
Yeah, I love work.
Good for you, man.
It goes along those things. We got to drill down. We got to get the real information. Okay. And we got to stop the echo chamber stuff and let's start reverberating the true stuff. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. Now with that said, I'll ask him those sorts of questions.
Okay.
Here's my opinion and my narrative on the whole thing. I think we need to slow way down. I think Richard needs to drag this out and let the Titans go to battle right now. Let the XRPs go to battle. Let the Coinbases go to battle so they can set precedent for us, because the outcomes of those cases are directly affecting our case.
Right.
So I'm not any type of legal counsel, but just from a strategic standpoint, I would say, man, take this as slow as possible.
Right.
And let's get it right at the beginning, at the infancy of Pulse Chain, rather than pushing this 5 years down the road and then getting it wrong. So I think it's a blessing in disguise that they brought this right now, at the very, very beginning, first 6 months, so we can get clarification, and then we'll just be able to build wonderfully regardless of the outcome moving forward.
Well, and so the thing is, I noticed two distinctions, right? One, the SEC formally coming against all the other cryptos have actually happened more or less against the crypto aspect of it, right? Whereas the allegations through Richard Hart and the SEC are actually a misappropriation. Do you recall, and help me out on this if you can, any of the other SEC cases having anything along the lines of misappropriating funds, or is it solely a claim of it being a security and not following proper protocols, procedures, and paperwork to, make it a security if it is what it is? Do you think there's a difference between those? Or do you know if there was any other allegations of misappropriating funds?
There have been other cases. So, for example, the Binance case, commingling of funds, misappropriation of funds in some ways. I've not really seen that with other smaller projects that have been sued by the SEC, such as Library. But what you see in the beginning documents, they are just trying to make the case that all 4 legs of the Howey tests are passed.
Right.
You don't want to pass the Howey test.
Right.
If one of those legs is not present, then the whole case falls apart.
Nice.
Right.
So I think that, to answer your question here, and here's a hint. This is actually good that you brought this up. Bretep, which is Richard's developer, I think it was who was it? Adam Stokes.
Yeah.
He posted a picture of Richard holding his bags, walking out of the store, all like a penguin there. And he's just flaunting, flexing.
Yeah.
And Adam said, "What do you think about this?"
Yeah.
Bretep. Now remember, Bretep's close to Richard. He talks to Richard probably every day.
Right.
Underneath, he says, transaction hash, please. So what he was indicating was, okay, how can you prove that was used, or the money that was used for the purchase of that thing? Show us the transaction hash then.
Correct.
That is the biggest clue that nobody's talking about, really.
Right.
And that's the closest to Richard that we've got about an opinion. And I also thought about this too. When I'm looking through that document and I see that this stuff passed through a mixer, I'm thinking to myself, if it passed through a mixer, if it passed through Tornado Cash, can you explain to me how you can pinpoint the actual address that those funds went to?
You'll never be able to.
No. So in my mind, I'm like, what do they know that we don't know? Or are they just bullshitting? Or like, what's going on here?
Right.
But here's what I also know, guys. They're not going to shoot all their they're not going to shoot all their ammunition at the start. They've got other stuff brewing. The big question is, are there going to be any charges levied by the Department of Justice in any way? Because we know the FBI agents, which is a part of the DOJ, have been visiting people, asking questions about these things, trying to figure out if there's a criminal aspect to this. Right. I would say for people to be mentally prepared for something like that to happen, it would not surprise me knowing that those folks were out in the field. So just be mentally prepared for it. Doesn't mean he's guilty. just be mentally prepared for it, because the whole, all of crypto Twitter is going to just, again, rush down on us and just try to make a fool of us, mockery of us, but we'll stick to the facts here.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's sad that people automatically go with guilty until proven innocent, which is such a backwards way of thinking. But as soon as any allegation comes out, they're all like, "I knew it," and you're like, "Bro, like someone just randomly made something and said something that you happen to agree with, right?" But they all see it as truth, which I find to be almost kind of shocking as to how, I don't want to say gullible, because gullible is not the right word. Malleable, maybe. How people are able to just go with it so quickly that it's almost as if it was the gospel. And so, and that's why I love Brett Tapp's answer, or Brett EP's, or whatever his name. I love the answer of transaction hash, right? Because it literally comes down to that concept right there. Like, show me proof, my friend. Like, at the end of the day, this is a blockchain. Everything is recorded. It's a physical ledger on the internet, right? It is literally there for everyone to be able to witness, see, and transact on, and actually look and infer anything that they can from that. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, you can't just get mad at someone for spending money, because, like,
well,
what are you gonna do? He filled up gas in his car. He must have been misappropriating funds.
Is it a trap too? So that could have been a trap that the SEC laid, and here's why.
Right.
They say, all right, $12 million out of $1 billion. 12 million was misappropriated. Okay.
Yep.
The Richard says, no, that was for marketing. So it was not misappropriated. It was marketing Pulse Chain. Oh, it was marketing Pulse Chain. Oh, so you were doing work for others. Oh, that's passing the Howey test. So it's kind of it's tricky, because
you can slipping somehow.
Yeah, they're going to try to catch you slipping, but I'm just some YouTuber and I see that trap from a mile away.
Yeah, that seems like it's one of those that, like, they got arrested type deal. They're sitting there, the dude will say murdered his wife or whatever, and they're just waiting for him to admit, or say something stupid and slip up after 12 hours of interrogating or interviewing, whatever way you want to say it. And so, yeah, I see exactly where you're coming from on that too. Now, do you think that he would go with the route of fight back, which we all would love? I think you said yourself it would be awesome to play it slow roll and let everything play out as it is. Or do you think he does something like settle and just say, get off my D, and, let's keep the party moving, and, have that, just like has happened in the past so many times, from the SEC just coming after them? It's such an easy way of just stopping the whole thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, what do we know about Richard from the beginning? He gave us classes and lectures on what happened to EOS and other projects, which is they got slapped, they paid a fine, and they're still around today.
Right.
So I've got that context, and I know he talked about that a lot. And maybe a wallet with no expectations is really our legal defense fund. I don't know. Right. But here's the other interesting part to this is I don't know, man. I don't know if he would want to fight this, but I will say this. Library got charged by the SEC, and they're seeking $44 million in damages. Guess what they settled on? Just throw out a number. Westcott, throw out a number. And then
you said 400 million?
No, $44 million.
44 million? Oh, okay.
What did they settle on?
Probably settled around like $5 million.
Okay. What do you think, Westcott?
10 mil.
Okay. It was 144,000.
I said that. Wow.
How crazy is that? How crazy is that?
It's such a waste of time.
It's and taxpayer money.
That's just a waste of time.
Bro, right. Wow.
Yeah, that's what they talk about when they say the SEC has hurt more people than the actual cases that they're actually going against, because the amount, like when that FUD happens in the SEC, they hurt millions of people through all of it, because it's crypto in general. Like, people hear the FUD that happens, and it's crypto that all gets affected, whether it's Richard Hart or the other cases that are happening.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know if Richard's looking.
They're over here guessing 4 mil, 10 mil.
Yeah, 10 mil. If Richard's like, oh, $12 million, and then here's the settlement. Yeah, let's just do 100,000 or $80,000. Okay,
doesn't even pay the legal fees.
Waste of time.
I mean, what's the goal here? The goal is to get past this. So I think he's going to do whatever he can to get past it, and let this thing move forward and get clarification.
Yeah.
Got you. I see Toby.
Dude, can you imagine having 37,000 Bitcoin now? I know this is just like one of those things that Chris A just kind of said. Someone said that RH could have owned 37,000 Bitcoin, but can you just imagine? My God, a single person owning any thousands of Bitcoin. Kudos to you, my friend.
Shout out to Toby one in the chat. He says, doesn't the misappropriation of funds fall apart if it's not deemed a security? If it's not a security, it's not an investment, and therefore no expectations for sacrifice funds, right? What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, I love that.
I can't wait for that interview you have later tonight, man. I'm telling you, that'll be, because I know you're going to share your thoughts on there, I imagine, as well. It's not just going to be a one-sided type deal. I am looking forward to that stream tonight. What time is that at?
9 Eastern. Okay.
Hey, man, Rags, real quick, man, I just want to say my last question to you would be take away crypto. I'm not sure if you're retired or anything, but take away crypto. Crypto never existed. What would you be doing for a living?
Take away crypto, what would I be doing for a living?
What would you be Rags be right now? What would you be doing right now?
Ooh, that's difficult, man. I'd be a salesman because I realize I'm good at it. I'd sell something because I think that's the best way to make money without a college education these days.
Gotcha.
Even with the college education, my God.
I'm true.
It's a lot of army guys and salesmen in crypto, I'm realizing, and nurses too.
Well, it takes a lot to be in sales. You learn, it's a litmus test. You learn a lot about how much of a bitch you are real quick. So it's true.
No, that's facts.
Yeah, that's like straight up with the college thing and the salesman. I said the same thing, dude. Go get yourself a commission paying job, y'all.
Yeah.
Like don't work based on the amount of time and how much everything goes in, but do it based on how much effort you put in, right?
And you can treat people the right way, and you're not going to be as successful in the beginning, but you will have a business that lasts forever if you build it the right way. So yeah,
absolutely, 100% agree.
Definitely. What about you, ATS? You got any last questions, or what do you think?
No last questions for me. I'm looking forward to the stream tonight. Actually, I would love to hear a legal perspective, because I want to say that someone had also shown a brief clip, if I'm not mistaken, of a lawyer perspective on what it could be. But I'm definitely looking forward to diving more in depth on something that you can actually, ask your questions. And I'm sure you'll be reading chat and asking the chat there as well. So looking forward to that stream, guys. Go like, comment, and subscribe on Rags to Riches pages. Make sure that y'all tune in.
Disgusting.
Hey guys, either way, it's been an absolute pleasure, Rags to Riches, having you on here. Yes, Wes, is always a pleasure doing these streams with you every Tuesday or every Wednesday and Thursday. He also is doing another late night stream tonight with Ben Dubar.
We got
that's going to be pretty interesting there as well, man. But I'm looking forward. We got tons of streams happening all the time. Where can the peeps find you at, Mr. Rags?
Hey guys, here's what I'll say. At Rags to Riches fam on Twitter. And the reason I want to point you there is because I created a thread with a link to the stream, but most importantly, in the comments, if you have a question that you want me to field, I'll consider fielding that. Just post it in those comments and we'll talk to the lawyer tonight. So that's your chance to give some input there.
What a great way of actually knocking that out. And that way you can focus on the guest. So go to the Twitter post right now after this stream, y'all, and go get that done. If you have a question and you're trying to get some information on this SEC case against Richard Hart, this could be an awesome time to get it in front of a lawyer who could share their perspective as well. But Rags, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Wes, always a pleasure, my friend.
I just want to say real quick, Rags, before we go, bro, you're a huge inspiration to me, man. I based my whole image off you with the sunglasses, the haircut, the beard, everything. Like, I seen your videos and you inspired me to start doing this, man. And I'm a huge fan. And I really appreciate you coming on the stream, bro.
Oh, really? All right. Check this out.
Yeah.
Like, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Nah, the Rags is the homie. Y'all take care.
Yeah, I'm